Honorable members, let's pray. Almighty God, we humbly beseech thee to look with favor upon this Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Grant that it may perform its high duty as in thy sight. Give divine guidance to the President of the Republic. Endow members of Parliament and ministers of state with discernment and vision, integrity and courage, that through the labors of government, this land and people may be well and truly served, and their good purposes for the common human life be realized in our midst. Amen. O God, grant us a vision of our country, fair as it might be, a country of righteousness, where none shall wrong his neighbor, a country of plenty, where evil and poverty shall be done away with, a country of brotherhood, where all success shall be founded on service, and honor shall be given to the deserving, a country of peace, where government shall rest on the will of the people and the love for the common good. Bless the efforts of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our people, that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of Ghana and Africa. Amen. Honorable members, we will go straight to item 4, correction of votes and proceedings and official reports. We will start with the correction of votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 20th December 2022. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12, page 13, page 14, page 15, page 16, page 17, page 18, page 19, page 20, page 20. Yes, honorable member.
Honorable Speaker, on page 20, item 34, motion, the sixth sentence by the honorable member for Abitifi. It is here stated Abititi. It should be Abitifi, F-I instead of T-I. Thank you.
You are referring to the sixth line.
Yes, please.
Yes, okay. Abetifi, not Abetiti. Please, table of kindly take note. Page 21, page 22, page 23, page 24, page 25, Page 26. Page 27. Page 28. Page 29. Page 30. Page 31. Page 32. Page 33. Page 34. Page 35. Page 36. Page 37. Honorable members, in the absence of any further corrections, the votes and proceedings of the 35th sitting held on Tuesday, 20th December 2022, are adopted as the true record of proceedings. Honorable members, I have no copy of any official report, and so we'll move on to item 5, statements. I have admitted one statement from the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. Yes, Minister.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity to make this statement on a very important matter that affects our safety and security as a nation. Mr. Speaker, as the House is aware, on Monday, 12 December 2022, a series of earth tremors occurred in parts of the Greater Accra region of our country. Preliminary investigations by the Ghana Geological Survey Authority, an authority under the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, responsible for the monitoring and evaluation of geological hazards and risk, revealed 3 significant occurrences at 11:49 a.m., 11:53 a.m., and 11:58 a.m., with magnitudes of 2.3, 3.6, and 2.2 respectively. Mr. Speaker, the epicenter of the tremor was located around the Weja area between Weoboman and Bojo Beach, about 575 meters in the territorial waters of Ghana from the baseline of the sea. The impact of the tremor was highly felt in Dansoman, Mataeko, Weja, and surrounding areas. Areas far from the epicenter such as Legon, Amasaman, and Accra Central, including the Ministry's Parliament House, the Court Complex, and the Supreme Court, also felt the impact, though slightly. Mr. Speaker, the impact temporarily brought business activities in these areas to a halt, with some members of the public trooping to the offices of the Ghana Geological Survey Authority. The authority, which had earlier dispatched technical officers to the monitoring stations, responded swiftly by providing information on the tremor to the public through a press briefing and subsequently a press statement. The authority also seized the opportunity to educate the public on some safety measures to follow in the event of such occurrences. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, earthquakes and tremors are not new to our country. The first recorded earthquake occurred in the then Gold Coast on 18 December 1636, around the Azim area, with a magnitude of 5.7. The impact caused a gold mine in the area to cave in, burying several mine workers, and caused cracks in the forge in Azim and surrounding areas. On 10 July 1862, the most serious earthquake in our history occurred here in Accra, with a magnitude of 6.5, rendering the Christianborg Castle uninhabitable. The last of these serious earthquakes occurred on 22nd June 1939 with a magnitude of 6.4, killing 17 people, injuring about 1,350, and causing damage to property worth over £1 million at the time. Since then, several moderate to minor earthquakes and tremors have occurred in various parts of our country, with 2 occurrences last year in Botiano and Pando, the most recent ones before this month's occurrence. Mr. Speaker, a seismicity map of the country shows that the southeastern part of the country, which falls within the West African mobile belt, is most prone to earthquakes and tremors. Unfortunately, over the years, we have not invested enough in seismic monitoring to determine such occurrences in real time. The first seismic instrument in the country, a mirrorless single-boom seismograph, was installed in 1914 and operated until 1937, when readings were discontinued on financial grounds. The country operated without a seismic instrument until 1973, when the Geotech long-period Z-component seismograph was installed in Kukrantumi to record distant earthquake events. Threats of earthquakes in the country compelled the then government to install an analog seismic network in 1987 to record various levels of local earthquakes in the southern part of our country, but this instrument is outmoded and no longer operational. Mr. Speaker, today there are 8 network seismic monitoring stations located in Akosombo, Asankregua, Ho, Kukrantumi, Lake Busunche, Solpong, Shire Hills, and Weja. These stations are connected to the National Seismic Observatory at Achimota by satellite transmission and are intended to provide real-time information on earth movements. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, the satellite transmission has not operated optimally, making it difficult for the Ghana Geological Survey Authority to provide real-time information and advice on earthquakes and tremors. During the recent earthquake, technical officers had to manually retrieve information for analysis to inform the nation. Indeed, following the 12th December incident, 3 other occurrences have been recorded, 2 on 16th December around the Weboman and Pambros areas, and 1 on 17th December around Kukrantumi. These occurrences were about 2 to 3 kilometers away from the baseline of the sea, and the impact was almost negligible. Mr. Speaker, government has been concerned about the recent occurrences of earth tremors in the country. On March 12, 2019, the Minister for Interior, Honorable Ambrose Dere, on behalf of government, inaugurated a 10-member committee to examine the issues of earthquakes and tremors and draw up a framework for refocusing Ghana's earthquake preparedness and response. As part of the earthquake preparedness and response, the Ghana Geological Survey Authority was tasked to revamp the digital seismic network for real-time monitoring for early response. The Ghana Geological Survey Authority has since been working with the relevant agencies to revamp the National Seismic Network and early warning systems to provide real-time information and monitoring. Already, discussions are far advanced with Nanometrics Incorporation of Canada, manufacturers of the existing monitoring equipment, to convert the satellite system of data transmission to cell modem transmission system using local telecommunication SIM cards. The SIM card transmission system has proven to be more reliable and easier to operate, and we are working with the Ministries of Finance and Digitalization to facilitate and expedite this transition. Mr. Speaker, to deliver a functional and fit-for-purpose seismic monitoring system of international standard, it will cost a substantial amount of money. The persistent increase in the frequency, occurrences, and magnitude of earth tremors over the past few years, however, requires that we position the Ghana Geological Survey Authority to provide quick, adequate, and real-time seismic information to prevent and or avoid any casualties in the unlikely event of a serious earthquake. We are therefore working with the Ministry of Finance to provide the necessary support to the authority within the shortest possible time. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, the government of President Akufo-Addo does not take the safety and security of the Ghanaian people for granted. This is why in 2019, the 10-member committee was constituted to ensure that we take preventative measures to avoid any casualty and/or eventuality. The government is fully committed, even in this global economic crisis, to resource, retool, and position the Ghana Geological Survey Authority to deliver on its mandate, particularly as it relates to the monitoring of seismicity, earthquakes, tsunamis, and other natural disasters, as well as geohazard mapping and public education on geohazards to enhance the capacity of the nation to mitigate and reduce the impact of natural disasters and risk. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for your attention.
Honourable members, this statement is made under Order 72. Order 72. So we will admit comments. I'm told one from east side of the house, but behind you we have two people. I don't know who. I should allow the Akraman. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to comment on the statement made by our minister concerning the recent event of the earthquake. Mr. Speaker, I stand here today as one of the many grandsons whose grandparents suffered from the 1939 earthquake, which resulted in our grandparents being moved from Jamestown to Koligono and Mamplobi areas. I also stand before you as a son whose father, when he was alive, said, "You should never live at McCarthy Hill." And I said, "Okay, Dad." But after my father died, today I found myself at McCarthy Hill. But, Mr. Speaker, I'm saying this because I did that in hopes that we'll have a government that will ensure the safety of all of us. So I'm very happy to hear the Honorable Minister articulating what is happening to ensure the public safety in events of this nature. Because one day, if I should go where my father is, I don't want him to say, "Okuben Kebo." So, Mr. Minister, I want to encourage you that we should continue, because I live at McCarthy Hill, and the population keeps increasing. Not just in McCarthy Hill, but in the surrounding environments. And so, please, let us move forward. This is of public nature and public safety. So I want to encourage you that you have my support in this move. Let us all move together of our nation first on all agendas. Thank you.
Yes, Honourable Member.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very happy this issue, which was actually causing national concern, is being raised here. It's very wonderful that the Parliament of Ghana is discussing this, and I'm happy that both parts of this House, the minority and the majority, are in agreement with regards to the need to improve the warning systems. As you well know, we can only be as prepared as the warning systems we have. And I really think that if not at all, besides McCarthy Hill, there are other earthquake-prone areas in this country. And many of us have relatives who have settled in some of these places. And as such, we need to improve or up our signals system, warning systems, and in addition to just the earthquakes, our preparation for any disaster, be it chemical, be it floods, because those usually go hand in hand. Most earthquakes come with other natural occurring disasters. So I really think that as part of our work as representatives of the people of Ghana, we need to encourage government and put our money where our mouth is with regards to improving our warning systems. And I would hope that this will also be a very important aspect when it comes to defense of this country. The military has some systems that also need to be improved. And if we can replicate what happens in the bunkers in Israel, because as you well know, though Israel does not suffer from a lot of earthquakes because of their issues with Palestine, there's almost always a raid of some sort. And they have one of the best warning systems in the world because they always have to send a rapid signal to the people in their various homes to go straight into their bunkers. Now, with regards to also improving on our architectural designs so that our buildings can withstand earthquakes, that is also a very important aspect, whereby our engineering departments, especially for governmental buildings, and let me repeat that, I think we felt the tremor here, those of us who were seated in the Job 600, we felt the tremors. And I think that Job 600 withstood to an extent the tremors that happened recently. So, in as much as we need to be careful and guided in terms of improving our warning signals, our architectural designs moving forward have to incorporate earthquake resistance so that our buildings have that integrity. And I'll plead that our engineering services in this country, and in addition, the future cathedral that will be built, has to incorporate the technology, the topmost technology to withstand any kinds of earthquake. And I think in concluding, I'm very happy for this statement. My constituents will be happy that Parliament today has discussed, because we are very close to McCarthy Hill, Anya Soto, and what happens in Gbawe happens in Anya Soto. And thank you for this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, in Daboshi.
Yes, Minority Leader. I'll come to you, Regional Minister.
Mr. Speaker, let me thank you for the opportunity to comment on the statement ably made by the Minister responsible for lands and natural resources. And Mr. Speaker, to commend him at least for keeping the country adequately informed about measures government is taking to contain the threat of earth tremors. But Mr. Speaker, my interest is in, may I with respect refer you to page 3 of his comment, and I'll refer further to page 4. And I'm particularly happy the Minister for Communications is here. Mr. Speaker, if you read, the Minister states, and I quote, "The country operated without a seismic instrument until 1973. So, Mr. Minister, what are you doing about that? If we didn't have it, what are we doing? You must be responding to it as an urgent matter. Now, Mr. Speaker, the Minister goes further to say that government has appointed 10-member committee. Committees cannot resolve earth tremors. Go and get your instruments right. And then further, Mr. Speaker, the Minister refers to, and I quote again, he states, Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, the satellite transmission has not operated optimally. And that's why I'm saying that I'm particularly happy that the Honorable Minister for Communication is here. The world has long moved far away from satellite technologies. The most contemporary technology is what you should be deploying for purpose of understanding and monitoring data in respect of this matter. So we should see collaboration as to what you are seeking to do in order to assure us of the country's earthquake preparedness and response. So whilst commending you, I don't seem to see technological response to how you are seeking to deal with the problem. Committee, yes, but committees are not enough. If satellite technology is not adequate enough, what technology are you seeking to deploy? What do you need to deploy that technology? So that, Mr. Speaker, the people of Ghana, in his words, the president cares about safety and security, but deploy appropriate technology. You cannot be relying in your own words on satellite technology. It has failed you. It's not yielding optimal results. So go for an alternative technology which allows you to be able to make an assessment of this earthquake. Then, Mr. Speaker, when he says seismic instrument, which seismic instrument do we have in place? But, Mr. Speaker, I'm encouraged by the fact that at least he has come to the people's representative to inform us that there was an earthquake of a tremor. The Honorable Abeji almost ran out of a committee meeting when it occurred. He didn't have the courage to withstand it. So commendable as it is, Mr. Speaker, next time the minister must be sharing with us far-reaching steps he is taking to contain this, taking advantage of contemporary technology. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, the regional minister.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to associate myself to the statement ably read by the Honorable Member for Damongo and the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. Mr. Speaker, information available to some of us indicates that there isn't any modern technology, as it were, to measure and determine, for that matter, when and what time an earth tremor or earthquake could strike. Mr. Speaker, indeed, we can say on authority that this is force majeure. But, Mr. Speaker, what are the causes and effects? Mr. Speaker, I want to say it's intertwined. Rather, in commenting on the contribution made by the Honorable Member for Ablekuma South, my good brother, otherwise known as Chenche. Mr. Speaker, the question that arises is this. Currently, our planning schemes in our respective MMDAs is what we should look at. Mr. Speaker, people build without going through the processes of being given building permits. Mr. Speaker, I think this is an area that members of parliament in this chamber would have to support the local government minister, the MMDAs, and of course the technocrats in this area to ensure strict enforcement of the bylaws of the assemblies, thereby making it impossible for people to build in areas where they shouldn't have. Mr. Speaker, you will recall that in recent times, with the Regional Coordinating Council and the RESEC, have embarked on a series of exercises to ensure that indeed there is discipline more or less in Greater Accra and the right things to be done. But, Mr. Speaker, what often happens is that in the course of ensuring that the right things are done, you get calls from your colleagues, from people, from opinion leaders, and it interferes with the work you are doing. Mr. Speaker, I think that with the greatest of respect, there must be a clarion call by members of parliament, your good self, Mr. Speaker, so we get the necessary backing, assistance, and support that we need to tackle these things. Mr. Speaker, I think that if we are able to do that, yes, of course, I've already indicated that it's force majeure, but are we able to prevent some of these occurrences? Yes, I think we can. But there must be an attitudinal and behavioral changes to ensure that same Mr. Speaker, thank you very much.
Minister for Communications.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just a few brief remarks to correct some misstatements that the minority leader indicated. Mr. Speaker, I commend the minister for making the statement. The tremor was of concern to everybody who witnessed it. I'm glad that he indicates in his statement that even though in 1937 they tried their single seismograph, which was installed in 1914, was discontinued on financial grounds, yet the country operated without a seismic instrument from 37 till 73, when another seismograph was acquired. But in his statement, he indicated that there are 8 seismic monitoring stations which are currently operational. However, the technology they utilize are a bit outmoded. I liken it to analog as against digital. And the officials are constrained because they have to manually retrieve and analyze the data. Technology has moved on. There are more up-to-date systems to detect and relay that information in real time. And the minister in his statement indicates that they are in the process of transitioning to convert the satellite system of transmission to cell modern transmission system. I'm glad that he notes in his statement that he'll be working with the Ministries of Finance and Communications and Digitalization to facilitate that. Even satellite transmission has also been significantly improved. And I'm sure we've all heard about the Starlinks and others. They are now low Earth orbit satellites which are operating and providing even direct satellite to device communications. So I'm looking forward to having greater engagement with them in the acquisition of the new systems with the technical people. So we'll facilitate their acquisition of modern equipment which will enable us to detect, monitor, and relay this information in real time. It's also incumbent on them to work closely with the disaster management organization so citizens would know what to do in the event of an earth tremor. And that has to be part of our disaster preparedness, education, so that from kindergartens through to all of us and those who are in the departure lounge of their lives, we would all know how to react and what to do in the event of an earthquake. In areas which are earthquake prone, that is factored into daily, weekly, monthly, annual training and simulation exercises. So as soon as a tremor occurs, people know where to gather, how to conduct themselves, how to stay safe. And I believe that working with even Parliament can assist and facilitate that exercise. The National Disaster Management Organization, our fire service as well. We can institute a program of sensitization, public awareness to enable us know what to do in the event of any such occurrence. Since we are being made aware that Ghana is sitting on a fault line and it is an earthquake-prone zone. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, my attention has been drawn to the request by the Minister for Youth and Sports to make a statement on the recent performance of our Black Stars at the World Cup. And so I will grant him permission to do so now.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to make a statement on the Black Star participation in the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar. Mr. Speaker, The statement will inform the House and the good people of this country the Black Star participation in the FIFA World Cup in Qatar. The statement will touch on the team preparation, participation, outcomes, gains, and the way forward, which include legacies from our participation in the World Cup. The 2022 edition of the FIFA World Cup, hosted in Qatar, was the 22nd edition of the World Cup and the first time an Arabian country hosted it. The 32 countries of FIFA 211 members drawn from continental federations participated in the tournament, and Ghana was one of the 5 countries representing the African continent after pulsating qualifying series. Mr. Speaker, the Qatar 2022 FIFA World Cup marked Ghana's 4th participation in the World Cup, having participated in the 2006, 2010, and 2014 edition in Germany, South Africa, and Brazil, respectively. Ghana went into the World Cup, FIFA 2022 World Cup, with the following objective: to better our high standards set at the previous World Cup appearance. Ghana qualified for the second round during the Black Star maiden appearance in 2006, and also reached quarterfinals in the 2010 edition in South Africa. The main objective was therefore to emulate these great feats and also better it. And to you, Mr. Speaker, to use the World Cup as a platform to market the tourism potential of our country through the Visit Ghana initiative. 3, to use the World Cup as a global platform to market the God-given football talent our country is blessed with, and to create more opportunity for Ghanaian footballers and clubs. 4, to use our qualification and participation in the World Cup to revive corporate and investor confidence in football ecosystem, and to use our participation in the World Cup to rekindle national unity and the spirit of patriotism. Mr. Speaker, to achieve the above objective, especially the objective to better our remarkable quarterfinals record at the World Cup, there was the need to ensure adequate preparation for the team and also mobilize resources to complement government expenditure on the team and other related expenses. In accordance with the government white paper on the Mafe Commission report, which investigated Ghana participation at the Brazil 2014 World Cup, the Ministry of Youth and Sports decided to facilitate for Ghanaian fans to be able to travel to Qatar to support the Black Star through private and corporate support. Therefore, the ministry fundraising drive was focused in appealing to corporate Ghana to donate holistically towards the campaign in order to able to send Ghanaian supporters to the team. The Ministry of Youth and Sports formed a fundraising committee chaired by my able deputy minister, with membership including the deputy ministers from Lands and Natural Resources, Energy, and the Ministry of Finance. Mr. Speaker, the President's personal intervention also helped in our fundraising drive. A number of corporate organizations came on board to support the Black Star, and this includes MTN Ghana, KGL Foundation, Goldface Ghana Limited, and among others. To support realize the fundraising campaign contributed immensely towards complementing government's expenditure towards the World Cup campaign. Following the confirmation of Coach Otuado as the next head coach of the team of the World Cup, the Ministry of Youth and Sports offered the coach and the technical team all the needed support to aid their work. Part of this was the ministry's support of the proposal to beef up the technical team with a blend of local and foreign experts for the World Cup. In view of this, experienced tactician Chris Houghton, along other 2 Ghanaian coaches, Didi Dramani and George Boateng, were appointed to assist our head coach Otuado. Also, the ministry supported the GFA proposal to appoint 4 Ghanaian local coaches, namely Prosper Ogun, Ibrahim Tanko, Samuel Boadu, and Ignatius Fosu, were also appointed to provide support services to the technical team. Other technical personnel for medical, video analysts, physical training were also appointed. Team preparation. Mr. Speaker, Ghana team preparation for the World Cup began with right after the qualification, with a number of technical teams traveling around various leagues in Europe to monitor Ghanaian players born in Ghana and abroad to Ghanaian parents. As a result of this, a number of players born abroad to Ghanaian parents declared their interest to switch their allegiance and nationality to play for the Black Stars. This gave the technical team a broad scope as they monitored Ghanaian players ahead of the World Cup. Some of these players switched their nationality and ended their self-imposed ban from the national team and were eventually called into the World Cup squad. Friendly matches, Mr. Speaker. Part of Ghana preparation were two international friendly matches between the Black Stars and Brazil and Nicaragua. The Black Stars faced Brazil in France in September 2022 and lost 3-0, and the Black Stars made amends in a few days later in Spain, defeating Nicaragua 1-0 in another international friendly match. Pre-tournament camp in Abu Dhabi. Prior to the pre-tournament camp in Abu Dhabi, the head coach of the Black Stars named a provisional 55-man squad, which the final squad was 26 players were selected. With all the major European leagues halting their league a week to the World Cup to pave way for the tournament, the Black Stars officially began their pre-tournament preparation in Abu Dhabi, UAE. Immediately after the break, the European League with the 26 players selected for the World Cup. As part of the final phase preparation for the Black Stars played its final friendly match against Switzerland in Abu Dhabi on November 17, 2022, before departing to Qatar. The Black Stars won the match 2-0 against their Switzerland counterparts. The Black Stars arrived in Qatar for the World Cup on November 18, 2022, clad with a beautiful traditional fuguk and kente dresses. With the host of global media covering the Black Stars arrival, it offered the country a perfect opportunity to highlight and market our traditional outfit to the world. Overall, the Black Stars was made up of 26 players and 21 technical team and management members comprising the Black Stars Management Committee and the Executive Council of the GFA. The quest of the ministry was to keep the team motivated, inspired, and focused before, during the tournament. In view of this, the ministry, with the support of the Ministry of Finance, ensure all monetary issues, especially bonuses and allowances, which ruined our campaign in Brazil 8 years ago, were amicably discussed and resolved before the tournament. The ministry, in collaboration with the GFA, also ensured the establishment of a strong team bond, respect, dignity, support, and the team ethics prior to and during the tournament. Essentially, government support the GFA and the Black Stars was enormous, and government ensured that key areas such as financial commitment, technical support, team preparation, team reinforcement, and motivation, as well as vociferous support for the national team were met. The Black Stars began their campaign against Portugal on the 24th November 2022. Unfortunately, the Black Stars lost the game 3-2 to Portugal, despite a spirited comeback from a goal down. This was a match that earned the Black Stars global pundits due to the remarkable manner they fought back through the match. The Black Stars won the second leg game against South Korea with 3-2 to keep Ghana's World Cup dream alive ahead of the final match. This was another difficult match for the Black Stars, but we emerged winners after surviving a scare from the South Koreans, who came from 2-goal down to 2-2 level. The Ghana required at least a point to advance to the next stage of the competition in the Black Stars final group match against Uruguay. But unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, the Black Stars lost 2-0. At the end of the group stage, the Black Stars bowed out of the competition as our only win against South Korea, which gave us 3 points, was not enough to ensure our qualification to the next stage of the tournament. Mr. Speaker, benefits of Qatar to our country. In spite of the Ghana's disappointing inability to qualify from the group stage to the next round of the tournament, participating in the World Cup without doubt gave Ghana intangible benefits, as it did in all participating countries. Some of the benefits, Mr. Speaker, are as follows. Unlike other football tournaments in which Ghana spent a lot of money to ensure qualification, preparation, and bonuses without commensurate prize money, the FIFA World Cup is financially rewarded. Once a nation qualifies, Mr. Speaker, for the 2022 World Cup, Ghana was paid an amount of $1.5 million for preparation. In addition to this, Ghana is entitled to an amount of $9 million as a participation fee, making it a total of $10.5 million earnings for the country. Considering the investment government have made in the team from qualifying stage, preparation, allowances, bonuses for players and officials, such return in prize money is a welcome relief and to at least recoup part of the investment, which will aid government's continuous responsibility towards all sporting development in the country. Pride of participation. Ghana was among the 32 countries out of which FIFA member country which qualified for the World Cup. Having missed the 2018 edition in Russia, it was extremely important for the country to qualify for this edition and make amends which eluded us. Tourism and investment potential. Surely, Mr. Speaker, qualifying for the World Cup comes with its own tourism and investment opportunity, both in private sector and the public sector. Following our qualification, the Ministry of Youth and Sports, as one of the major stakeholders of the World Cup, took advantage of our qualification to initiate investment and support discussion with our Qatari sports organization. In the coming months, these discussions will intensify, and it is our hope that government will benefit immensely from our discussion. Also, Mr. Speaker, World Cup afforded Ghanaian private businessmen and football investors to travel to the World Cup and opportunities to build global football and sports partnership. Again, through our participation, Ghana was able to market our country for direct foreign investment and also tourism destination of choice through our Visit Ghana campaign. By Ghana qualification, the World Cup platform also offered Ghana opportunity to market our textiles, chocolate, artists through Stoneboy, who performed at the final fan festival. In spite of all these off-field benefits, the main objective of participating in the World Cup for Ghana was one of the top football nations in Africa. It is always to leave a remarkable imprint on the field, as we did in Germany in 2006, South Africa in 2010. It is therefore regrettable that we could not achieve our main objective of qualifying from the group stage and making a strong impact at the knockout stage. Supporters mobilization. In line with government white paper on the Jemafe Commission report, government decided to solicit support from private organizations in order to support football fans to travel to Qatar and support the Black Stars. From this initiative, some Ghanaian fans were supported to Qatar by the Ministry of Youth and Sports to complement government funds and ensure strong support for the Black Stars. The ministry collaborated with the Ghanaian embassy in Qatar and mobilized about 1,000 Ghanaians and other African nationals based in Qatar to support our national team. These funds were offered free match tickets by the ministry as well as paraphernalia in the Ghanaian colors. Technical vacancy. The head coach of the Black Star, who was contracted for the World Cup following Ghana exit, Coach Otuado announced his decision not to continue as a Black Star coach. This has led to vacancy ahead of our assignment by the Black Star in 2023. The Ministry of Youth and Sports and the GFA have already commenced discussion in appointing a new technical team for the Black Star with the view of transforming the national team. Mr. Speaker, budget. Mr. Speaker, you may recall that prior to Ghana's participation to the World Cup, I informed this House that our estimated budget at the group stage was $8,166,200 United States dollars. Out of this estimated budget, Mr. Speaker, our total expenditure for the group stage participation amounted to $5,171,840 United States dollars. These expenditures covered appearance fee, per diem, flight arrangements, medicals, equipment, logistics, and hospitality. Mr. Speaker, the reason for the surplus of $3 million after our exit from the group stage is as a result of the ministry's prudent management of resources, as well as the ministry's decision to negotiate on qualification bonus for the next round instead of paying winning bonus per match. What this means is that in spite of our Blaster defeating South Korea in our second group match, we did not pay any winning bonuses to that win. However, we would have paid qualification bonus to the team had they been able to progress from the group stage of the World Cup, regardless of the results of our matches, the group matches. Mr. Speaker, this measure we have adopted is aimed at motivating the team to go all out and progress from one stage of a competition to the other, and also to ensure prudent management of resources. Mr. Speaker, even though we have not been very happy for the Blaster progress for us to pay the qualification bonus, these measures have also saved the nation some money, which will go back to continual support of sports development. Way forward, Mr. Speaker, the Blaster recent participation in the two major tournaments have not yielded the desired on-pitch results, notwithstanding the enormous investment of government continues to make in the team. This calls for drastic measures, especially in the handling of the team, to ensure that, as a nation, we halt the dwindling fortune of our national team. Despite our disappointing exit from the group stage of the World Cup, one positive is that the young team gave our nation a glimmer of hope that the team can go places if we learn from our mistakes and correct the wrongs. The Ministry of Youth and Sports therefore intends to lead a national dialogue of all stakeholders to come out with a modern and inclusive way of managing our national team. This is extremely important in order to complete and win confidence of Ghanaians, especially the managerial process of our national team. World Cup Legacy Project. In line with the vision of the host country, Qatar, to create and sustain a first of its kind Qatar 2022 Legacy Project across the world, the Ministry of Youth and Sports is committed to the Qatar 2022 Legacy Project. The Ministry has already commenced discussion with the Qatari authority to collaborate with them to mutually beneficial relationship towards their Qatar 2022 Legacy Project, which they are planning across the world. On our own, the Ministry will soon launch our version of the Qatar 2022 Legacy Project, which will see us collaborate with private sector to build basic and much-needed sports infrastructure, such as football pitches, boxing gyms, basket courts, tennis courts, volleyball courts, in various communities and schools to enhance community and schools and sports This project will be named 2022 World Cup Legacy Project. The idea is to ensure that our participation in the World Cup will bring visible and long-lasting benefits not only to football but other sports across board. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I have to once again express the Ministry's disappointment, which reflects the mood of Ghanaian people, for the inability of the Blaster across to progress from the group stage to the next round, as well as we look forward. Mr. Speaker, all of us, government, parliament, corporate Ghana, and the good people of Ghana did our best in support of our national team. And I believe the team, on the second account of what we saw, also gave off their best. Unfortunately, it wasn't the best to see us through to the next stage. As I have often said, we must learn from our mistakes to ensure a brighter future of our national teams. It will begin with serious reforms, and government through the Ministry of Youth and Sports is committed in leading these reforms. Mr. Speaker, the Qatar 2022 World Cup was a test case for us as a nation, since it marked our first World Cup since the government white paper of the 2014 World Commission report. And I'm happy that with the support of stakeholders, issues which attracted negative global publicity in the country 8 years ago in Brazil were completely off, ensuring a serene, transparent World Cup process, facilitating private support for Ghanaian fans to travel to the World Cup, as well as recommended by the white people, especially in the midst of difficult financial challenges, gave the ministry a great satisfaction. Mr. Speaker, let me use this opportunity once again to thank His Excellency the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, for his personal commitment to the World Cup project, I'm also grateful to you, Mr. Speaker, and the entire members of this House for your immense support before, during the tournament. Finally, Mr. Speaker, government is grateful to all Ghanaians for the united and patriotic manner we all came together as a nation to support the national team, our Black Stars. Indeed, football unites, and just as we envisaged, the World Cup and the Black Star brought us together. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, that's a very comprehensive statement. I will only allow one from each side of the divide. Leaders, do you have preferences? Yes. I will have to go to the left first before I come back to the right. So, ranking member. Oh, you are not the ranking member? Yes, so I said ranking member, and you were still in the Wonderland.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was actually paying attention to my leader also as well. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the statement made by the Minister for Youth and Sports. And, Mr. Speaker, going forward, I'll say the report is apt, but then I want to say a few things, Mr. Speaker. With regards to the fundraising, a lot of corporate entities would want to associate themselves with football because of the huge patronage it enjoys, and it's about brand. And many would always readily give when we, the recipients and managers of the resources that are given, also appear quite transparent in terms of its usage and effect. So that next time they will be ready to give more and also bring on board many more corporate entities to support the development of sports in general. Mr. Speaker, I would be happy to see, I would have been so happy to see the exact contribution of these entities, because out there, a lot of people want to know how much they have actually supported the preparation and then the supporters to go to Qatar and support our Black Stars, the Ghana Black Stars, in the course of the campaign. And so with this, I will urge the Minister to furnish us later, if possible, or the public later with the exact amount, so we can all appreciate and appreciate those brands, and then maybe continue to patronize those brands, because we know we will get more from them anytime we knock at their doors. It's very important. And then also how the money was spent, because you said we have actually lifted the number of people to Qatar, the numbers and how it all went is also critical and important, so that next time when we go to them, they will be ready to support us. Of course, the fundraising was successful, and I appreciate what you have said. Yes, when Coach Otuado took over the coaching of the Black Stars after the unfortunate incident in Cameroon, we thought he could do better, but not to the extent to which he was able to get the team together to qualify over Nigeria, and then also got them to play the various friendly matches. And the last one of it was the play against Switzerland. In fact, that was what moved the entire nation to realize that we're in for a very good ride. And therefore, the support base was so high, and so we're actually going to get there. And I must say, he's done his bit. He's had the support of all. We've actually rallied behind him, and behind him to ensure that the Black Stars went, and of course, to deliver. Unfortunately, I believe they lost focus along the line, even though I'm sure the individual players and then the body did their best. Some pundits also felt that there are some, issues with regard to timely changes that ought to have been done to ensure that, to avert what we went through. But then, all said and done, I'm sure there are lessons being learned, hoping that we better our lot going forward. Because this is a young team. They need to be motivated. They need to stick together. they need to be, moving and then involve themselves in more of such national assignments, so that at least with the experience of getting to know themselves the more, I'm sure they'll be able to do better going forward and so on. Mr. Speaker, the idea of putting up a legacy project here, which probably is premised on the statement by the Qataris, to come up with a legacy project. I am of the view that it would be good for us probably to maybe they're going forward to do whatever they intend doing in Ghana. But you, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that the minister should rather be looking at how we can have such legacy project built when we host the African Games. That is a major continental event. That's the first time Ghana is hosting such an event. And if that is done and we do very well in there, I think you should be then talking about a legacy project in honor of at least the benefit of hosting, and then, of course, coming up with all those. Because, I don't know, we were not that, or we were kicked out at the group stages. Seriously, I don't see how you want to spend taxpayers' money to do anything in that regard. But it's open for more discussions. Let's see. If they had advanced, to other, maybe what the fifth shock by Morocco, I mean, that would have been well celebrated and we'll all rally behind this. But then the idea is good. We can continue the discussion with the Qataris with the hope that, of course, having participated in the event in Qatar, okay, you've done well. Okay, we want to do something in Ghana. For us to remember, that is okay. But say, going forward to send in their honor, when not too long from now, we are going to host very critical and important in a bigger event called the African Games. That event, when we do, we should be able to remember some years later that yes, to do showcase Ghana. We've actually sold what Ghana is made of, the sight and sound, the tourism attractions, and many other, of course, beautiful attributes about this country would then be well known out there through the hosting successfully of such events. So I would think that you should look at that, of course, and then, Mr. Speaker, the budget. Okay, Mr. Speaker, I have been signaled. So, based on this, with these few words, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to add my voice to. Thank you very much.
We have to redefine few. Maybe I'll start counting the words, and then I'll give the definition. Our honorable lady.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the statement ably made by the Minister for Youth and Sports on the performance of the Black Stars. Mr. Speaker, I would like to commend the Minister, his ministry, and for that matter, the government, for putting everything in place to ensure that the team had very good preparations before they embarked on this journey to Qatar. When the President visited them in camp, the GFA President commended the President for making sure that they had all the resources they need before coming back, before going to Qatar. So I commend the President on that score. Mr. Speaker, I would like to also commend you for your patriotic support. I saw you in your number 3 jersey watching the football match from the Speaker's lobby. And I could see that you were very happy that you were doing very well. Unfortunately, we didn't be able to sail through from that group stage, but I think that you did your best and your support was highly very noted. Mr. Speaker, I would also like to commend Morocco for making Africa proud, for going through all the group stages to place 4th. I think that it's an honor for all of us, even though we couldn't get there. And I'm Argentina for winning the World Cup, and for France for also playing very well and defending the cup. Mr. Speaker, back home, Honorable Minister rightly said that we will learn from our mistakes and correct the wrongs. Mr. Speaker, we went to the World Cup in 2005. We went to South Africa. We went to Brazil. I don't know at what point that we'll still be correcting our wrongs. We should have learned from our mistakes long ago. In South Africa, at least, we qualified through to the quarterfinals when Uruguay, unfortunately, Asamoah Gyan missed that penalty. We went to Brazil and back in Qatar. I've been asking myself whether the correction should be coming from the players themselves, our selection of coaches, our selection of players, or the alleged interference from GFA. I don't know where the corrections ought to come from, but I believe that we should have learned our mistakes long ago. We have a very young team. We have very skillful individual players. Ghanaians were hoping that at least we'll qualify from the group stages to the next level. We lost to Portugal. We came back strongly to win against South Korea. And even though we're sitting on thorns at the time, the last 20 to 30 minutes was very difficult for our Black Stars team, but they did their best and won against South Korea. It was so much joy in Qatar. You know, everybody was supporting Ghana. All the other countries were supporting, even Qatar themselves were supporting Ghana. And unfortunately, we lost against Uruguay again, and through a penalty kick-out. As I stood there and I watched the day, I asked myself whether the coach really had plans, or whether the coach had already 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players in case we're going to do a penalty shootout. Because I could see from the day's countenance at the time that he was even jittery when he picked the ball. So I told colleagues who are around me that if you are not lucky, the day will miss the penalty, because the way he was jittery. But it goes back to our coach. It takes the coach, it takes the playing body, the technical team, and all of us. A lot of people have spoken about our coach and as a player scout. Yes, he qualified us for the World Cup. But what happened there in Qatar? A lot of people spoke about some players after the first match. I'm not a football player, but I love football. And I know that once you score a goal as a player, you need about 4 or 5 minutes to settle within yourself. When they scored the goal, he together with Kudos, he changed them. They had hardly finished, celebrating the goal when he was changed. And then just between 5 or 10 minutes, with 2 goals. A lot of people spoke about some of the selection of players. And this will take me back to GFA. That has been alleged that they always interfere in player selection, even at the World Cup. If that is so, then I think GFA needs to change their ways. And I think that they should know that football, on all the under-20, the under-23, the Black Satellites, all the female teams, it doesn't belong to them. Football is the passion of this country. It belongs to all of us. And it's a collective effort, a collective preparation that took us to the World Cup. So if indeed they interfere in player selection to always bring us back to this situation, where we'll be doing a lot of arithmetic and statistics and mathematics anytime we go for tournaments, then I think we all have to add our voice. And I believe the Committee on Youth and Sports would want to investigate them if it's indeed the truth that they've been interfering in player selection. Mr. Speaker, I also want to go back to some of the objectives that our Honourable Minister raised, that is put us on a very high standard. We've qualified for the next round and all that. Mr. Speaker, as I said earlier, we have a very youthful team. They are very they have skillful players, but unfortunately, sometimes we don't see them, the continuation as a team, because maybe the preparation doesn't normally start on time, and if the ministry and the GFA would want to look to that aspect of it for us, it will go a long way to help us. Somebody like Kudos, he played very well, but he was all the time changed. I personally had issues with the way the coach, together with his technical team, changed some of the players. Because if you're a coach and you're on the technical bench, at some point, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I would like to say that we have a solid, youthful team. We will continue to learn from our mistakes, as the Honorable Minister said, but I think it's long overdue. And I want to commend them for their performance, even though we couldn't qualify from the group stages. They have done very well for this country. They played their hearts out. We have very promising players in the team, and I believe that them together with all the adequate resources and preparations, next time we will do better, probably will be better than Morocco. But all the same, I think that when it comes to the coach, the GFA, the ministry, and all of us will have to add our voice, so that we will not come back here always talking about player selection and interference from the GFA. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity.
Yes, I cannot fail to see you. You are directly in front of me and a very senior member of this House, so I'll give you a few minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Even so, I'm representing our leadership, so I have two capacities in this respect. Mr. Speaker, let me join my colleagues in thanking the Minister for Youth and Sports for this statement. I recall that before the team left for Qatar, or while they were in Qatar, he made a statement here, and then now that they have left Qatar and come back, he's also trying to brief us again. We thank him for that transparency. But I have some few observations to make. One or two are negative and one or two are positive. Mr. Speaker, the positive one is that many of the young players who represented us are young men who were born outside the country to Ghanaian parentage or single Ghanaian parentage and decided to switch nationality or express loyalty, and then they joined our team to fight for laurels for us. I think we thank them, and we pray that this will be a gateway to many other young persons who are of Ghanaian origin and are living outside the country so that they can continue to support this country. Players like Tariq Lamte and then Inaki Williams are those who haven't come to Ghana before, or we haven't known them before, but they decided to switch nationality to play for Ghana. I think it's commendable, and we are grateful to them and the research team for identifying them and bringing them to play for this country. That's number one. The second one is that, Mr. Speaker, Qatar 2022 has told us several lessons that you cannot live in past glory in terms of football again. You cannot live in past glory. Spain, Germany, Brazil were examples in Qatar 2022. That Qatar or football now believes in preparation, adequate or good preparation, then commitment and dedication, and then technical ability or capacity. If you have these three, you have the good preparation, you have the hard work, and you have the technical capacity, you will go places. And those teams that went to quarterfinals, the semi-final, and the finals demonstrated these attributes that I'm talking about. Maybe we lacked them. That is why we did not go far. So, if you still think in the past, like some time ago, Ghana was African beacon, 1963, 65, 78, 1982, we are living in the past. So we must wake up. There are no football minnows again. There are no big names again. Names don't play football. It's preparation that plays football. That was a lesson that we learned that episode. Now, if we come to look at the other aspect, number three, Our approach to the tournament was negative, Honorable Minister. The Ghana approach to the tournament was negative. Negative in the sense that we gave too much respect to our opponents, as if we did not also qualify on merit. Against Portugal, we spent half of the time playing at our half and allowing the other opportunity to run down on us. Even against Uruguay, where we had developed strength from our match against Korea, we thought that we would be aggressive there. We spent half of the time playing at our end. And the best form of defense is attack, and not just defense. I think that was a negative approach. And we gave too much respect to our opponents. So they had opportunity to do several things. So I think that next time, we should know, Qatar has told us that there are no weak teams, there are no strong teams, there are no good old teams and the rest of them, hard work. And if we believe in ourselves, we have confidence in ourselves, the approach that we exhibited in the World Cup would have been a different thing. Particularly the last match where we needed just a draw to progress, and we allowed ourselves to be played out. That was quite negative that I think that we should address. And then, Mr. Speaker, we have been to the World Cup 4 times, 2006, 2010, then 2014 in Brazil, and then 2022. Mr. Speaker, it tells us a quality story. The two years that we participated, 2014 and 2022, were led by Ghanaian coaches, Stephen Dapp in 2014 and Ato Ado in 2022. And that is where we did not progress beyond the group stage. We have to look at that scenario. Now, take 2010, South Africa, we went far. Take 2006, Germany, we went far. We were led by foreign coaches. So I want us to examine this scenario. We are very nationalistic, or sometimes overly. We want our own made coach, we want a local coach and the rest of them. When the challenges are there, even in Europe today, there are some of the countries that started football, that foreign coaches, not their own national coaches. I'm not saying this not because I'm not a nationalist, but I'm national. But we are looking for results, not nationalism per se. If you preach nationalism and you go there, you are last, it's no use. Look at Belgium. Their coach is not from Belgium. Even UK, England, until recently, their coaches were from outside. And they started football. So my appeal is that we should not just be overly dependent and say local coach, local coach. We should look for somebody who will bring our results and glory. And if that happens, then we are better for it. Mr. Speaker, legacy. Now that we have come back, the legacy is that we should develop our national stadia. At least every regional capital must have a standard playing football field. We were at the Accra Sports Stadium last Saturday, 17th of December, when the NDC had their national congress. The Accra Sports Stadium has become a national disgrace, with the greatest respect and apology. Accra Sports Stadium, Ohenijan Sports Stadium, has become an apology. Now invaded by musicians and then religious persons and the rest of them, and a national asset like Accra Sports Stadium at the heart of the country. That we cannot play football, we cannot play a match, we cannot host anybody there. What is our country? We are talking about nationalism. What is nationalism without having a national sports stadium? Baba Yara go to Kumasi. It's an apology of a stadium. Mr. Minister, the money that we have had from the World Cup, use that to develop the stadium. Use that money to develop the stadium. And let every region, at least the 10 original regions, have a sports stadium befitting the name of the country as a star footballing nation of Africa and the world. To you, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the minister again and to thank the players. They did their best, but our best was not enough to salvage us. I'm confident that in the near future we will improve by way of preparation, by way of commitment, hard work, and discipline. Thank you so much.
You want to comment on the statement?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, we had agreed to do 1-1 in leadership, and he ceded his to Honorable. But
honorable members, I'll be suspending sitting at 1. So we may have to suspend sitting and then come back later. So I want us to do a few items before we do so. As for your numbers, I think it's 2-2. That's okay. We can move on, unless you want you yourself to say something, but don't use numbers. If you want to say something yourself, I can allow you, but don't use numbers. We should go on.
Speaker, I just wanted a minute to make some few comments on this.
Yes, okay.
I think, Mr. Speaker, I'm not a football fan, and I'm not too much into football, but I observed some few things that I believe that it's worth sharing. Mr. Speaker, the 3 games we played, all I noticed was that our people on the field, our footballers, our players, had a difficulty in managing their disappointments. The questions I asked were the following. 1, did we have a team psychologist, an emotional counselor with them to help them manage some depression, manage expectation? Who was talking to them off the field? Who was giving them that prop before entering the field? And who was a key person, if they even had a psychologist or an emotional counselor, who was his contact person or her contact person on the field? Because in the field of play, there should be one player who would inspire, who would be doing the talking and get them moving. Because when the day I used score, equalized, and just got off the field, we considered 2 goals again from the Portuguese. And that is where I anchor my argument. That our boys appeared disorganized. And the Uruguay match, with great expectation, they conceded 1 goal and again they were disorganized. So, Mr. Speaker, again, I'm not a football fan. I'm not an expert in the area of football. But these observations are very profound and clearly tells you that in our daily lives, how we go about things. Somebody may be sick and will be thinking about the sickness, and that will take him to his grave. Even medication will not work. Somebody may be sick, very serious ailment, but because the person has somebody psyching him how to manage the situation, that in itself is healing. And to me, that is where I think our boys did not get. Was it their fault? It couldn't have been their fault. So, Honorable Minister of Sports, Honorable Minister for Youth and Sports, please, going forward, a psychologist, a professional one who understands his work and the nature of football and an important game like that must be properly engaged to support. And Mr. Speaker, saying this to football, I will say it to us as parliamentarians. We sit here, we don't have communication specialists advising us what to say and what not to say. We don't have psychologists managing our exploits in public service. I spoke to Honorable Ahmed 2 days back, and he told me that when you meet former MPs, you get disappointed. Who is managing us? The stress we go through, the depression, our expectation. How do we get ourselves managed? Mr. Speaker, the time has come for psychologists to be properly placed in society. The time has come for us to appreciate the work of psychologists for all spheres of life, so that we make life better. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, these are few, and these few words, I thank you for the opportunity.
Well, honorable members, I'm sure you all know that success is built on only three elements. It's knowledge, which constitutes only 5%. The second is skills, which is only 25%. The third is attitude, which is 70%. That's what we have to work on. Attitude. We don't learn from mistakes. We learn from lessons. We didn't lose. We won. That should be it. That's where our focus should be. We didn't lose at Qatar. We won. Out of 211, 32 were there. We were among the 32. At the end of the day, when they counted the best players, our players were counted as among the best players. I visited Nigeria recently, and a senior citizen of Nigeria told me that our team played, but we lost some of the matches because we were cheated, and you all saw it. We played well. Young boys, the youngest team, and don't forget, it's the youngest coach that won the day. The coach from Argentina was the youngest coach. My passion for football is unlimited, and it will continue so until I'm no more in the world. So please, let's be proud, let's be happy. We won, we didn't lose. And I'll continue to congratulate the Black Stars and the technical team and the organization, particularly the minister led a good team, but there are some lessons that we picked from there, which we'll learn, and the next contest will go further than we did. Honorable members, with this, we'll move on to, I think, public business. Oh, Minority Leader.
Speaker.
He's one of the football lessons, so yes.
Speaker, at the commencement of public business, we can now take item 6A on page 3. Item 6A on page 3. Speaker.
Honorable members, at the commencement of public business, item 6, presentation of papers. 6A, by the chairman of the committee.
Report of the Joint Committee on Trade, Industry and Tourism, and Youth, Sports and Culture on the annual budget estimate of the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture for the year ending 31st December 2023.
Honorable members, the paper is presented and is for distribution to all members of Parliament. Yes.
Speaker, page 6. Item 16.
Honorable members, page 6, item 16, Majority Leader. Yes.
Speaker, I will seek leave, your kind leave, for the Deputy Leader to take the item instead of the Majority Leader. Speaker.
Yes.
Your kind leave.
Permission granted.
Yes. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move this House to approve the sum of 45,400,308 Ghana cedis for the services of the Commission on and Administrative Justice for the year ending 31st December 2023. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Motion moved. Any seconder?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I second the motion. I present the report of your Special Budget Committee on the annual budget estimate of the Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to request that the Cancer Department adopt the entirety of this report, and by doing so, I make the following observation. Mr. Speaker, the committee, after a careful examination of the 2023 estimates of the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, made this following observation. Mr. Speaker, we observed that there were challenges with the Commission expanding access of service to the people. And Mr. Speaker, you note that pursuant to Section 10 of the Shrag Act 1993, Act 456, and Article 220 of the 1992 Constitution, the Commission is required to establish offices in each region and district in the country. And Mr. Speaker, we regret to note that the Commission has so far not been able to fulfill this constitutional requirement due mainly to financial constraints. And Mr. Speaker, it is the recommendation of the committee that denying the people access to the offices of the Shrag will mean that it does not augur well for the protection of the fundamental human rights. And therefore, we are recommending that the Minister for Local Government, Decentralization and Rural Development will impress upon the MMDAs to make space available to the Commission for the establishment of district offices across the country in accordance to the statute. Mr. Speaker, I'm also make other recommendations that other observations that were made, and that is the delay. The committee noted that the Commission, as at September 20, had completed only 4.6 of its reconstruction with Parliament House. And that one is also one that requires immediate attention. And in conclusion, Mr. Speaker, the committee, having carefully examined the 2023 annual estimates of the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, recommends to the House to adopt its report and approve the sum of 45,400,308 for the Ghana cedis for the implementation of the programs of the Commission for the 2023 financial year, commencing 1st January and ending 31st December 2023. Mr. Speaker, I so submit.
Motion moved and seconded is for the consideration of the House. Yes, Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, this is in respect of constitutional bodies, the Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice. Mr. Speaker, I speak in support of the motion for the approval of that sum of money for the activities and operations of shrines. Mr. Speaker, corruption still remains a pervasive problem in our national public life. We are assured by the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice that they are working with the Office of the Attorney General to introduce the Public Officers Accountability Bill. Mr. Speaker, yourself, you recall, as a cabinet member of the John Evans Atamble's government, this bill has been on the drawing board since its time. It's about time that we deepen accountability and transparency in public life by making sure that the bill sees the light of day. Mr. Speaker, I would indulge you on behalf of the chairperson to correct just a few portions of the report, if the chairperson would be mindful. Mr. Speaker, page 9, paragraph 7.1, challenges with expanding access to regions and districts. regions and districts. When you say challenges with expanding access of service, that is not good enough. Page 9, paragraph 7.1, challenges with expanding access to regions and districts. Then the body of it captures it that it is a wish of the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice that they were in every region and every district. But because of financial constraints, Mr. Speaker, they are not able to do that. The other correction, Mr. Speaker, still in the same page, will be page 9. Chairperson, take note. Weakness in, the word there must go. Weaknesses declaration regime. That should be the heading. Weakness in assets declaration regime. The word there must be taken off, Mr. Speaker. Then, Mr. Speaker, again, another correction will be page 5. Page 5, item IV, anti-corruption drive and NACAP implementation. Then the rest of the word, the following activities were carried out. You don't need it there. You just say anti-corruption drive and NACAP implementation. Then the rest flows as report. The Honorable Atachia was at the committee meeting. He will bear with me. So the construction there should just read anti-corruption drive and NACAP implementation. Then you provide the explanation how far they have come. Mr. Speaker, I think that the Commissioner and his team are doing very well, but for those, the lack of funds. Mr. Speaker, you note in page 11, the committee noted that the Commission requires an amount of 2.5 million to complete this project, but they are allocated 600,000. So, Mr. Speaker, about 1.9 million is required for them to be able to work and work effectively. Then, Mr. Speaker, page 10, paragraph 7.3, with indulgence of the chairperson again, I do some correction. Delays in the reconstruction of the old Parliament House, maybe delays in the completion of the reconstruction of the old Parliament House. That is how it should read, Mr. Speaker. The committee noted that the Commission completed 46.3% of the reconstruction works of the old Parliament House. So that should be the first line in page 10, if the chairperson is mindful to accept that. So, Mr. Speaker, Shiraj is not being funded adequately. Much of their performance in 2023, what they required for goods and services, Mr. Speaker, and what they required for CAPEX, out of 4 million of the revised budget, they got only 500,000. Their original budget was 6 million. So there's an outstanding 5 million which should be provided for them to be able to do. But, Mr. Speaker, they indicated that they have conducted investigation of up to 9,900. Mr. Speaker, what was instructive was the decision by Shiraj to they call them their stakeholders, Ghana Education Service, the problem of integrity in our country. I think that the focus should not be on adults. It should be those who are now in primary school through secondary school. We need to imbibe them with the values of integrity, the values of honesty, and the value of patriotism. We are sure that they will be able to undertake this activity. But again, Mr. Speaker, able to do so because of the inadequate funds allocated to them. Then, Mr. Speaker, finally, on the National Anti-Corruption Action Plan. Mr. Speaker, I believe this is a matter Parliament must take up seriously. Subsequent to its launch, I have heard you make public comments about it. We should know how much resources are we committing to the National Anti-Corruption Drive. Because the less money we provide, the more corruption, the more leakage, and the more loss of public funds. With these words, Mr. Speaker, I speak favorably in support of the motion. I thank you.
Yes, Honorable. Yes, thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the motion that the budget of Shiraj be approved by this Honorable House. Honorable Speaker, I have a few words to say. Honorable Speaker, when we talking about constitutional bodies funding, a list might to be desired. That constitutionalism is not cheap. we have similar circumstance that the serious business of the legislature is being hampered by issues of finances. So if you pay regard to this report, one of the serious challenges of SHRAD is that they are underfunded. It is of twin character. One, the amounts that are even approved and the releases. It's a matter which leaves much to be desired. This explains why the completion of the old Parliament House, which should house SHRAD, is going at a tortoise pace. And at the last time, it is recorded that it is 46.3% complete. That's a long way to go in relation to an institution of this stature. Honourable Speaker, there was this issue of assets declaration, and I was of the humble view that the Constitution has provided that it is the Auditor General who should be the custodian of the assets of public individuals. And I don't believe there should be a turf war in respect of this. It's all technology. It is SHRAD having access to the records of the Auditor General. And that will be it. I don't see we should multiply legislation in a matter like this. That anything of consequence that SHRAD wants from the Auditor General, when we have filed our assets declaration, shouldn't be a problem. And there is this suggestion that there should be another legislation on this matter. My view that is technology and collaboration. Honourable Speaker, there's a problem I have, and I want to test it in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has come out with a decision in relation to the exclusive jurisdiction of SHRAD in investigating conflict of interest matters. And I've been telling some lawyers of renown that sometimes people think that Parliament is an appendage of government. Parliament is not an appendage of government. Parliament is an arm of government. So how can, excuse me to say, an inferior constitutional creature have the power to investigate conflict of interest, and Parliament itself cannot investigate conflict of interest when it should come before a Parliament? And people will moot this idea that, look, it is only SHRAD that has the power to look at conflict of interest. I believe it's about time that I'm going to get a couple of these good members of Parliament. So we storm the Supreme Court that if the conflict of interest should come before this House, it will be an aberration of the law to say Parliament is disabled from investigating serious matters that have come before the Parliament of this country. I don't believe even what the court can peek into our internal transactions, apart from a breach of the Constitution by Parliament. So this is one of the things I found, and this exclusivity of the agency or the organ that can look into conflict of interest, I believe, is a law sitting upside down. And in good time, we will challenge it. I don't know, I know some well-meaning members from the other side will join me as we challenge this unconstitutionality. But, Honourable Speaker, it's a very, very, very good report that has been put together, and I crave the indulgence of the House to approve the budget of SHRAD. I'm grateful to you.
Definitely, I'll join you if you challenge that decision. The Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice is a statutory creation. Parliament is not. We passed the Act and created the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice. It cannot be above Parliament. Our oversight responsibility and mandate goes beyond that. And so I totally agree with you, and if you take that step, I'll go with you. You will not walk alone. Honourable members, the fault in the legal regime on fighting corruption is not in the act. The fault is in the Constitution. And you cannot use any instrument or this to amend the Constitution except specifically so decided by this House and the country. And so whatever code they are bringing is just to amplify the provisions of the Act. You can't amend the Constitution by using a code of conduct. No. The fight against corruption did not start with the 1992 Constitution. It started even before independence and runs through all the constitutions. When we were passing the Act in 1998, we went through all. I was the chairman. His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo was the ranking member. We went through all and we legislated rightly. And so please, I'm awaiting the bill to come. And we'll go through it together. The law is the law. That is what we pass in the Constitution. If we want to change it, we have to amend the provisions of the Constitution. Please, with this guidance, I put the question. Those in favor, say aye. Those against, say no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. The House has accordingly approved the sum of 45,400,308 Ghana cedis for the services of the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice for the year ending 31st December 2023. Honorable members, as I indicated earlier on, I think we will have to suspend sitting. There is some urgent matter that we have to do, not just me, at 1, and it's exactly 1 p.m. Yes, Majority Chief Whip.
Speaker,
It's something that involves you and your side. That is the information I was giving. So there is no way I can, for example, call on any of my deputies to come and preside on only one side of the House.
Speaker, we're taking a queue and we'll gladly oblige you.
Honorable members, the House is accordingly, I should say sitting is accordingly suspended for 1 hour. I hope they will finish the discussion within the hour and then we can reconvene. Sitting is suspended.